Welcome to This Week in Morgan County. I'm your host, Russell Mokhiber. Our guest this week, Morgan County Commissioner Bob Ford. Bob, welcome back to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here again, Russell.
You were elected in 2012.
Correct.
A squeaker over Brenda Hutchinson. I think it was like a couple hundred votes, maybe 2%. 51-49, I remember. And so this is your fourth year. Are you going to run again in 2018?
It depends on my health. If my health's good, as it is today, more than likely, yes.
You will, okay. And on the current county commission is yourself, Joel Tuttle, and Brad Close.
Correct.
Brad is the chair.
He's the president.
President of the commission.
Correct.
And he's leaving, and he will be replaced by Ken Reed, who won the Republican primary. There's no Democrat opposition.
Correct.
Okay. Who will be the chair next time around?
Well, that get at our first meeting, which always happens on January 2nd, okay, the commission, they meet then and they take a vote then who's going to be the president of the commission. And then we set the whole meeting schedule and everything going forward for the next year. And that's the way it works. In reality, you elect a new president every year. It's just sometimes you get a president. Last time I was here, Commissioner Stotler was president for my entire 6 years. Each commissioner has roles to play, and some do better at chairing a meeting than others, and the other commissioners feel comfortable, so they may just reelect a guy for every year.
Would seniority play a role? Because if it did, you would be president, right?
It could. You know, again, I've been a believer in the commission as a team player. And the success we had after the courthouse fire with getting back in order in a real timely manner, I attributed how quick we were able to do that based on being a team. And Commissioner Stotler during that administration had been a fine president. I mean, he was a good leader. It just works. So when you find that chemistry, it's nice to have it. Now, when I first got elected back in 2000, they used to rotate the commission. That every 2 years, the commission would rotate presidents to give everybody an opportunity. I never really worried about being president because they have a very limited role. The only authority they have that I don't have is what we grant them, which is they sign the checks, they do a lot of press releases, they take care of controlling the meeting. And again, if I have somebody that's comfortable doing that, I don't have a hard time voting for them. It's not something like I really want to do, but I mean, if the other two commissioners would like for me to play that role, I'd be more than happy to do it. But if they choose one of the other, it's not going to upset me a bit. That to me doesn't mean anything because I have a job to do. That's represent 17,500 people. I do that every day to the best of my ability. So it doesn't matter if I'm president or if I'm not.
On the economic development side, a lot going on. Tractor Supply just went in.
Mm-hmm.
Sheetz is going in on 9 and 522. Mm-hmm. You've got possibility of Dollar General on Oakland Road, 522.
Yes, and we just got some news the other day that the Supreme Court ruled 5-0 in our favor. So it's my hope that Dollar General proceeds forward.
Have you heard anything whether they're going to go in or not?
No.
Because when I spoke to them, they said they're still doing due diligence or whatever.
Well, they had the authority. I mean, when they won the trout, when the developer won their trout, they had the authority to move forward then. I'm sure that people that are financing that operation may have felt a little uncomfortable with the Supreme Court hearing coming forward with the county.
Right.
And I know I wouldn't have invested money in it, knowing it's hanging out there in the Supreme Court. So I think everybody just kind of retracted, so let's see where the Supreme Court issue comes down. Once that comes down, they have the green light to do whatever they want now. I mean,
but you haven't heard whether they will or won't?
No.
Okay.
There's been no official word as to either going forward or retracting. I mean, I haven't heard anything one way or the other.
U.S. Silica is planning on moving their blasting operations closer to town. What do you think? Good or bad thing on that?
I've read that, I've heard it. Okay, again, I've had no official things where they're coming south other than what Commissioner Close had mentioned in a meeting that they were planning on coming a little further south. I trust, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm convinced they'll do the right thing. I mean, they're not going to endanger life and property. They've been here for a long time. And they've had a couple things that went wrong over that lifetime of being here. That was many years ago. I haven't heard of anything recent that got out of control. I mean, I'm familiar with the explosive industry, and it's very sophisticated, and they have really ways of controlling what they do. So it's not like in the old days where you drilled a couple holes, stuck some dynamite in, and everybody says fire in the hole, and you run like the devil to get out of the way so they can blow up the mountain. It doesn't work like that. I mean, most of the stuff's all done seismic control of what they're doing. They got targeted areas that they're dynamiting or blasting, and it may rumble the ground a little bit, and we move on.
Mountaineer Gas is proposing a gas pipeline. It depends on apparently a Columbia gas pipeline that will come under the Potomac River to Berkeley Springs by U.S. Silica, cut east on Route 9 to Martinsburg. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, and that's basically about all I got right now at this time, is thoughts. I'm of the belief, I'll believe it when I see it. I have my own reasons for that. I grew up in Maryland, as you know, Hagerstown. And I can remember the Honorable Goodloe Barron, who created a National Historic Park, the C&O Canal Park. And it was his dream to have it to go from Georgetown all the way up to where the beginning of it was, and to restore it to its historic place as a C&O Canal. That being said, I can remember it took an act of Congress to build that park. I mean, that's a National Historic Park. It's not just a national park, it's a National Historic Park. I know U.S. Silica tried feverishly a couple of times to get a pipeline, because had they had the ability to get that pipeline, we could have very well had Corning Glass here, we could have had other companies here, because the requirements for making the type pottery that they made and the cookware and all that they made required a lot of sand, but in conjunction with it required a lot of gas. U.S. Silica was never successful in getting that, okay?
So this is not something recent. They've been trying over the years.
It's been tried.
Why? What stopped them from getting it?
Well, I just think the hurdles that they have to cross are horrendous.
Which is going through the national park, going under the national park.
Historic park. And again, I throw the word historic in there. Don't take that parkland lightly. I mean, it's almost like sacred ground. I mean, so I think to get through those hurdles is going to be enormous. I mean, I think there'll be public outcry. I mean, I think it will be unbelievable. So therefore, I just kind of sat back and said, okay, let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Getting under the river, I don't think is a big deal. I mean, do they have the ability to drill under the canal and the river to make this happen? Certainly, we got the ability to do it. I mean, we dig bridges under the bay. I mean, we got the bridge tunnel.
Tunnels, yeah.
So, I mean, the technology's there. It's just as the will to go through National Historic Parks and stuff like that acceptable. And again, I'll believe that when I see it.
So those are the main ones in the news. What else is on the radar screen that you see coming down the line?
With the gas?
No, with economic development. Any other projects that you see coming in?
Well, we're dealing with Blue Ridge up there. We've had some conversation with Procter & Gamble wanting to expand in the area, which would be a big shot in the arm. I know we've worked with them in regards they want to put some laboratories in the old hospital building. I know Blue Ridge has been working with them to come up with I guess for lack of how to say it, but like a chemistry lab type atmosphere with courses that kids out in our high school will be able to participate in as far as continuing education. Some ideas they've come up there with. It's a pretty bright spot for Morgan County if that all happens. I mean, in that regards, as far as education, which does affect economic development. I mean, if you got a learning center in your community, it's a pretty big plus. Yeah, some good things happening there. I mean, again, a lot of it's kind of like loose ends right now. It's not all tied up with a nice little bow. But moving forward in a good direction there.
Have you heard of any other bigger developments, Tractor Supply like, Sheets like?
Well, not other than the three that's already on the burner. I mean, them's the only three I'm aware of right now. Again, I can't emphasize the Procter & Gamble project. I mean, that's, if we were able to secure that, that's a pretty big project. I mean,
and that would be at the hospital?
That would be at the hospital. And matter of fact, the county has put our project on hold because we're going to do a major renovation up there. And we've had to put it on hold until Procter & Gamble makes a decision what they're going to do. But their intent is not only Blue Ridge being in the wing they're in, Procter & Gamble is proposing taking over a whole other wing, which will be quite a...
And that would change the county's plans for the building.
Exactly, yeah, we've had to put our project on hold because we was getting ready to do a complete window and door renovation product, making it more environmental, heating, stuff like that, window package and stuff. It's already been bid, already been ready to start. But then when we started deliberating with Procter & Gamble, we had to put that on hold.
How close is that deal?
Man, I don't know. It was at a lightning pace when they first came in. I mean, they sent their engineers in, everybody, and everybody was running around. The house is on fire. We got to get this done, get that done. And I think what it is now, they're evaluating where they're at. In other words, I think they've really got it down to where they're allocating funding for certain things, and I think that's where it's at right now.
What do you hear about the future of the development at Cool Font?
Well, personally, I think what happened there was horrible. I mean, really, I hated to see that thing broke up the way it was.
Right.
I would have much rather seen the district go through that was there. I think it would have offered people that want a lot of the insurances and protection. Some of the people out in Cape and South 1, they would have been afforded that in that area because it was really a whole area that was zoned, more or less. So when you bought into that, you knew exactly what you was getting. And I like that. It was a form of voluntary zoning. I think it would give people a place that wanted everything to be the way it should, would have been good for our community.
That was the development where they were going to put high-end houses, basically, second houses.
Well, they called them secondary homes. I'm sure Cape and South was a lot of secondary homes in the beginning.
Right.
But as people retired, and then it became their permanent home.
But that ended with the recession and also with the death of the owner of that company.
I think that whole thing went down in flames when the helicopter went down.
With the owner of the company, yeah.
With the owner of the company.
Now the Umps brothers have bought a piece of it. Have you heard anything about their plans? Have you heard anything?
No, I haven't heard any planning. I talked to one individual who bought a tract of ground. We had some ties with communication towers that was on his part, and we got them ironed out for him. But I haven't heard anybody, to my knowledge, submit any kind of plans or even enter in any discussions with anybody.
Are you feeling good about the future of the county?
Yeah, I think we kind of turned a corner here. I know in the past, excuse me again, that you represent a group of people that's not really pro-growth. I mean, that wants to see Morgan County retain its, I don't know, the quiet, laid-back community. You know what I mean? And I kind of get that, but we pay an awful price for that. I mean, we just had to raise ambulance fees to get money to fund the ambulances, and with not having a really truly commercial or industrial tax base, kind of paralyzes a county in wanting to do things. I do think what we're looking at now is maybe going the opposite direction. I don't want to say the opposite direction because they're parallel, but I kind of look for the commercial and economic growth, and then other things would happen. With the retail outlets expanding ahead of that, may wind up attracting the other. So it's a little bit like, well, you build this, then the other people come.
You mean the tourism economic development balance?
Yeah, I just think you need, I don't think anything I've seen coming in our county will hurt our county. I think they're positive. I know for a fact we have a lot of, if you want to call them in the old days, and I'm probably politically incorrect here, but they called them gentleman farmers. It was people that bought 10 or 15 acres of ground. They wanted a horse in the backyard, or they want a cow or two, or some llamas, or whatever.
Right.
And they get into what I call hobby farming, or whatever. And we got a lot of them in this county. I mean, if you get out and ride around, you'd be amazed how many horses you see, or llamas and stuff like that. I mean, and Tractor Supply is a good deal for those people. I mean, they carry a wide variety of things that will fill that need, where customarily these people had to drive to Winchester or Hagerstown. I know I had over 100 head of cattle I was raising. Every time I turned around, if I needed antibiotics or something, off to Hagerstown, off to Winchester. And they're gonna really feel a need in this county.
One last thing on economic development. Do you have any sense if Sheetz goes in, are they gonna close the Sheetz on Route 9?
Interesting question. No, they will close it.
They will close it. And do you have any ideas of what could go there? Because it's a key corner for the town.
Yeah, I was amazed at the public hearing we had. Only one individual asked that question. I would have thought there would have been many more questions in regards to what do you do with that store? Because Sheetz has, in the past, have theoretically boarded them up, and they sit there. And I have a call into Sheetz's, I had a conversation with Mr. Dingus about that corner, because my concern is, where if you go to Kaiser, it's on the main street, but it's not in the heart of Kaiser.
Right.
Unfortunately, this Sheetz store presents a little different thing. It sits right in the heart of our town. I would hate to see that place boarded up. And Sheetz's are very protective of their products, product lines, and to my knowledge, they will not rent that or sell that to anybody that competes with them in any way, shape, or form.
Food, gas,
It
anything.
doesn't matter if it's down to a donut store.
Right, although they're also a responsive company, and it seems that they would respond to pressure from the community saying, don't board that up, that's a key corner in our community.
I hope I talked to Mr. Dingus, okay, and he's with the real estate division.
Right.
And he and I had a pretty good conversation, and I don't want to talk about that a whole lot today. And we're working on trying to prevent that. And,
All right.
And I think we've had a positive conversation so far, and I just want to kind of leave it there, because I can't speak for Sheetz's. Mr. Dingus wasn't prepared to speak for the owners. But I think we can reach some common ground there where it doesn't become a boarded up store.
Did you watch the debate last night?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think?
I was happy with Mr. Trump's performance. I mean, I wish he would have did it in the first debate. I give him far more credit. He didn't do it in the first debate. I didn't understand why he wasn't more aggressive. I think last night he performed very well. I think he had a good debate. He spoke about issues. He apologized for some remarks he made, which some people find apprehensible, or however you want to describe it. Personally, I don't really care what he did 10 years ago. I mean, if we want to get into
Those remarks, you didn't find those remarks reprehensible?
No, I did. I find them reprehensible.
Right.
But I said this back when Bill Clinton was president, and they wanted to impeach him for things he did in his personal life. I felt once we start down that, and I cautioned a lot of people, I said, I don't know if we want to start going there. We are not electing our preacher. We're not electing our Sunday school teacher. We're talking about somebody that's going to be the president going forward for the country for 4 to 8 years. Why do we want to get into their bedroom? Why do we want to get into their head in personal issues? I don't think we need to go there. I claimed that during when Bill Clinton was president. I said, this is a slippery slope. When you guys start impeaching this guy for this is wrong. Because it's going to wind up tit for tat. And that brings nothing to the table as far as moving our country forward.
West Virginia is going to go Trump by 20 points, 25 points, maybe 30 points.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yet, you're one of the few public officials in the area to come out and support him publicly. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering why you think that's the case.
Because I think our country is in trouble. Now,
No, I know why. I know why you're supporting him. You've told me why you're supporting him. But why do you think you're one of the few in the area who's come out to publicly support him?
I think there's a lot of people feared, and I've made this statement, I'll stand by it. There's a poll that's very interesting that most people aren't paying attention to. And being a political junkie, I do. I mean, I try to read, try to figure out why things are happening the way they're happening, because sometimes we've had elections where polls didn't pan out. I mean, people won and said, my goodness, how did he win? Or whatever, you know. And the pollsters kind of amaze me because their sampling are very small parts of the population. In my view, it's very easy if you're taking a poll, you say, okay, we're going to poll 300 people. So somebody gets on the phone, they think they're calling 150 Democrats or 150 Republicans, and they form their opinion. They say, okay, Hillary's up by 2 points one week. And the next week, Trump, he's been up half a point. And they're all over the place. Because you're not sampling America.
So you think he's going to win?
I think he's going to win by a landslide.
So you think he's going to win by a landslide? And is there anything about him that bothers you?
Yeah, I wish he'd stop the hoof and mouth disease. And what I mean by that, he does have to attract the millennials. I'm not bought into political correctness. I think it's destroying our country. People have fear of saying the wrong thing because it offends people. My staff, they get a kick out of me because I offend people every day. I'm 70 years old. You don't change your stripes. You know, as you grow older, I have tried to caution myself to realize, because I got granddaughters. I got a granddaughter that's 25. I love her to death. I mean,
So the thing about grabbing women and all that.
well, look, man, I had people ask me one time, I said, Bob, you ought to run for office, for higher office. I said, no, because I don't want anybody opening my closet door, because the skeletons would come rolling out of there. I mean, I picture 4 guys playing golf. They're sitting there, and they decide they're going to go to Hooters. God, you ought to hear that conversation.
All right,
Now,
but
some of these hypocrites that are condemning Trump were the same guys there at that golf match.
all right. Now, how about this?
That's
How about this,
locker room
Bob?
junk.
How about this, Bob? Don't we deserve better than these two? I mean, what somebody said once that Clinton's neoliberalism was the disease. It wiped out the middle class. It sent jobs overseas. But he's the symptom.
But you read thoughts.
I'm just asking you about that. Don't you think we deserve better than these two?
I don't know if there's better out there.
Okay.
And
Well, how about
I'm trying
this?
to make my point to you.
Yeah.
When I asked you and your wife one day to read thoughts, it was things I posted on Facebook. And I kind of reminisced about the last 40 years of my life, okay? And what I'm talking about, does people want to think Jeb Bush is a better person? Or George Bush is a better person? Or these people, because they might speak a little better, they might be a little more polished in the way they say things?
All right, let's
I
take.
don't think that makes you a better
Then
person.
let's talk about a couple specifics. I mean, much of the elite Republicans in the state are moving away
They're
from.
crooker than Trump.
Well, Shelley Moore Capito, for example, she put out a statement yesterday saying he's got to re-examine his campaign and all that. And nobody that I saw, other than you in Morgan County, has come out and publicly supported him. No Republican. Well, how about this, though? He said, let's ban all Muslims from the United States.
What?
Let's ban all Muslims from
Okay.
the United States.
What-
Do you
what-
agree with that, by the way? Should we just ban all Muslims from the United States?
Well, I said that one day in a county commission meeting. I mean, not a meeting. I was sitting in my office one day, and I was talking to my 2 secretaries. And this is way back months ago. That I said, I have a very, I grew up in communities where we had Amish, we had Mennonites, we had Presbyterians, we had the Brethren, we got Catholics. Nowhere in the history that I studied, other than going back to the days of the Crusades, did I see any of these religions preach kill people. None, okay, in my lifetime. The Muslim faith randomly talks about killing people.
How about an eye for an eye? That's killing people.
No.
That's
We
not
don't-
killing people?
We don't. I ain't seen one minister in my lifetime preaching out.
So you think the Islamic religion is a religion of violence?
Yes.
And therefore you would prohibit Muslim people from coming to the United States. You would agree with Trump on that.
No. And I don't think Donald meant all Muslims.
But he said all Muslims.
Well, again, there's a guy, it's not politically correct. The guy speaks from his heart. The guy he can stick a microphone in front of his mouth, he's going to answer your question. Now, is he always right? No. But if he had time to really sit down and think about it.
Don't you think there's good and bad in
I
everybody?
agree with him on the same point.
Don't you think there's good and bad in everybody?
Yes.
And do you think there's more bad in Muslims than in Christians or Jews?
I think there was in Muhammad. He was one of the biggest crooks in the world.
Okay, but do you think there's more bad in Muslims? And the average Muslim, there's more bad in
I know
average.
Muslims. I know some good Muslims. that-
I'm asking you this question.
Yeah.
Don't you think all human beings are the same? There's good and bad in everybody?
Sure.
Is there more bad in Muslims than in Jews or Christians?
No.
Okay, so why ban Muslims?
Because, again, I go back to the Quran. It's the only religion that preaches kill the infidels. And they teach them kids that from the time they grow up. How do you take that faith and bring that together with our Constitution and the laws of America? And my point is this. I can remember back years ago that they wanted to build a mosque in Frederick, Maryland. And the people of Frederick said, no, it's not happening. And they didn't build it, okay? But my point is this. Other religions disagree on philosophies, and they disagree on different points of view, but they don't teach people to kill. The Muslim faith, a segment of it, teaches people to kill. If you don't agree with them,
A segment of
kill them.
every religion teaches people to kill. Bob. And I'm not a history of religion, and I'm not a historian of religion.
I'm just saying
But
what my observation's been.
to be continued, because that went really fast.
That's a long.
That's from Shiites to Islam.
Yeah, that's a big
and to
leap.
be continued.
Yeah, to be continued. And again, I encourage people, read my position. It was on Facebook. There's 3 different segments on there about thoughts and how I got to that. But I said that I think Muslims should, if they want to blend in with America, I welcome them. But if they want to come over here and preach hate and kill, no.
That's the same for every religion in the world. That's what we say to every person.
Yeah,
and
if
we
the
shouldn't
Catholics
single
wanna
out
kill
Muslims.
people, we need
Yeah,
something out
absolutely.
here, you know?
Bob Ford, thanks for coming. To be continued.
Be continued.
Until next week in Morgan County, I'm Russell Mokhiber.